Good afternoon, ma'am. This is Harold Baggs from the San Francisco Research Institute, ma'am, and I have to inform you that one of our terrestrial dolphins has escaped.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Would it be possible it would come into Sonoma County?
Napa Valley sighting confirmed.
Yeah, we have a sighting in the Napa Valley, which
What does it look like?
Do you know what a dolphin looks like?
Uh-huh.
It looks like a dolphin. It's a terrestrial form.
Okay. What does terrestrial form mean?
Can come out on land, and it has a brown color.
Okay.
It's just got an extra single foot on its stomach.
And would it be in the rural areas, like around parks and stuff?
Sure, it creeps along on the left-hand side of things.
Now, what would it attack?
You'll notice that if the animal is going to attack, it increases in size about 5 or 6 times.
Ooh, how big is it?
Well, it's about 12 feet long normally. And if it's getting angry, it'll blow itself up to about 60 feet long and the size of a house.
Oh, my stars. Oh, my stars.
So you tell your kids, tell your kids to watch out and don't kick a ball at it. They playing with balls?
There's the kids out front playing with balls, yeah.
Yeah, well, don't kick a ball at it. If you kick a ball away from it, it'll get smaller.
Wow.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
I appreciate you calling.
You're very big.
Oh.
All right.
Bye-bye.
The most qualified person to talk about Chris Morris's limits when it came to wind-ups is the man with the mobile phone, Paul Garner. Paul would be sent into shops and would be specifically instructed about what to do and say by Chris on the phone. This extended to airports and, notoriously, a taxi.
I was in a taxi and I had to do basically whatever he told me. And for some reason, I had chosen to cover myself in a bottle of TCP as well, as if it wasn't embarrassing enough being in this car. I don't know why. That shows your naivety of radio. It's not going to really work on radio, the TCP thing. It's purely for my own sort of extra layer of enjoyment from it. But no, I mean, even now going to Cambridge Station, reliving that moment just for a moment is terrifying. And this is the reason why I've never heard any of this stuff back. So trying to listen to this programme when it's finished is going to be a challenge in itself, because I'm not sure I can, to be honest. I mean, some of the things that we did were, some of the highlights of my time, even now, kind of however long it is, 20 years on, because they were just so ridiculous. And I can't actually, it's almost like an out-of-body experience imagining myself in some of those places now, like on the floor of the Waldorf Hotel, just rolling across the floor of the reception on a mobile phone. And it struck me recently, I didn't actually have to do that. I could have pretended. I could have hidden at the back of the reception at the Waldorf Hotel, and when Chris was going, "Are you doing it? Are you rolling?" I could do, "Yep, yeah, I'm doing it." But I didn't. I did it.
You are wearing trainers?
I'm wearing trainers, I'm wearing an anorak, and I'm wearing Buddy Holly glasses.
And you stink of TCP?
I've rubbed it all over my body.
Excellent. And you've got a good first aid bag there full of rubbish?
Yeah.
How far are you from the taxis?
10 yards.
Okay. Approach the taxi.
Okay.
Remember, I'm your dad.
I'm doing it now.
This is the first taxi journey you've ever been on.
Okay, here we go. Yeah, I'm looking at the taxi. I'm about 2 yards in front of it.
Make a nice friendly face to him.
Yeah. Okay. I'm doing it.
And get in the cab, say you want to go somewhere in Cambridge.
Okay, here we go. I'm getting in it now. Do you mind if I get in the front, please? Oh, shit. He's letting me in the front. He's having to move stuff off the seat.
Cool. Thank him very much.
Thanks very much for that. I prefer the front.
You do it in a London type car?
Yes.
Do a lot of crazy laughing and stuff.
This is my first time I've been in a taxi on my own without my dad.
If he ever asks you what the hell you're doing on the phone, you just explain to him that I'm your dad.
We're just leaving the station.
And say, tell him to stop now, tell him to stop.
Do you mind stopping just for a second?
You just got to check the indicators.
Do you mind just checking the indicators for me?
They're not on.
Can you just check them for me, because I'm nervous? Just do the left-hand one again. Yeah, they're both working fine.
No, you've got to get out of the car.
Do you mind if I just get out of the car and check them for me?
Well, you ought want a cab or you don't, mate.
No, I do want a cab, but I just want to check the indicators.
Well, get out and have a look then. Keep us still good.
And tell him to shout left and right.
Okay, I'm just going to get out now and look. I don't like this. Can you do the left, please?
When he does the left, tell him that's on the right.
That's on the right, mate. You want to do the left hand first?
That's on the left.
Pardon?
That's on the left. It's there. It's on. The left hand indicator's on.
Is it?
No, it's the right.
No, that's the right indicator.
You can't even see from where you are.
What's that?
You can't see. You've got to go in the front to see if they're on.
I've got to go to the front. I don't like the front of the car. He's totally pissed off.
Okay, and as you get back into the car, ask him when he last had new tyres.
That's brilliant. When did you last have new tyres, mate?
None of your business, is it?
Pardon?
None of your business.
Wind down your window and adjust your wing mirror so you can see what's behind you.
Okay. I don't like these. How do I wind the window down, mate? Can you do it for me? Oh. He's done a window for me.
Okay, now adjust the wing mirror so you can see. Ask him.
I've got to just adjust the wind mirror, is that all right?
Touching it like that, you won't.
Can I adjust the wind?
No.
Why not?
Because that's adjusted for me.
Can I see? I need to see behind me.
You don't, mate. I'm driving it. I'm the one that needs to see.
I know you're driving,
Well,
but...
I'm driving it and they're staying as they are.
Ask him if he's ever had an accident.
Have you ever had an accident? Have you ever had an accident in this car?
Why?
Because I'm a little bit worried.
If you're worried, get out.
You're allowed to be worried because it's about your body.
Well, it's my body. I'm a little bit worried.
Has he had an accident?
Have you not had an accident then? Yeah? He's not saying nothing to me now.
Tell him that your father's worried about you and that this is your first taxi journey and you just want to make sure that you're not going to get damaged.
I know, he's nice. It's just that my dad's worried on the phone about me, and it's because this is my first taxi journey on my own. Do you understand?
You tell me where you want to go, and that's it. That's the end of it. I don't need to make conversation.
He doesn't need to make conversation, he said, because that's the end of it.
All right, well, tell him to stop the car again.
Do you mind just stopping for a second? I'm sorry to be awkward. Do you mind just stopping here? He's been very kind. He's pulled over for me.
Okay, you just want to check and see if there are any signs of accidents on the car.
Do you mind if I just check the car, see if there's any accidents?
Bollocks.
He said bollocks, and he's now pulled off really quickly.
Ask him if he's done anything of which he's ashamed as a driver.
You've not done anything in the taxi that's you're ashamed of, have you, Mr. Driver? Hello?
You keep quiet until you get where you want to go, and that's the end.
Keep quiet.
You're just nervous, that's all.
I'm sorry,
I don't have to listen to all this. I don't want this verbal earache, okay?
Verbal earache.
I'm sorry.
Okay, start tapping the dashboard.
He's taken me to the roundabout.
And when you get to the roundabout, Paul, get him to go round it again because he didn't like the way he went onto it. Go round it again. I'm worried about the way you went on. I didn't like the way you went.
I know, he's going too a little bit far.
A bit fast?
A bit fast.
Yeah, tell him to slow down a bit.
You can just slow down a little bit, mate, for me. You wouldn't just go round it once more.
No.
Pardon?
No.
I didn't like the way you went onto it.
It's the way he went onto it that's a little bit worried me. Is it all right to go around once more?
This is where you want to go and you're here now.
He's stopping it.
Yeah.
He's not having it.
But you went onto it in a horrible way.
No. I'm sorry about that, but I'm just a little bit worried, that's all.
£3.60.
£3?
Say you're not paying because he didn't go onto the roundabout again.
I wouldn't mind just going round the roundabout.
No, come on, pay me up. I'll go get the bloody police. I've had enough. That's it.
Why the police?
Because I want you out my car, okay?
But there's only a...
Now.
It's
All right. He's getting angry. He's pulling me out of the car. I'm not joking.
Okay, pay him.
Going out now.
Pay him.
He's pulling me out.
Pay him.
Okay, mate.
Careful of me.
I'm sorry about that. I'll pay you up proper.
I tell you what, give him the phone.
Do you want to just have one with my dad for
I
me?
want me money, come. I have to meet the goose back on.
Tell him he's a horrid, horrid man.
He's been very horrid to me.
Yeah, that's 5.
Is that it?
That's it.
Is that the lot?
That's all you get.
Tell him I hope he crashes.
Well, I hope you crash.
Yeah, tell you what, you'll never get in it again.
Sorry?
You'll never get in again.
And you never get out of your car when you crash, you bastard.
Bastard. You.
I hope you never get out of the wreckage.
Oh, you never get out of the wreckage, you old bastard. You know? I've licked it, oh my God. No more. I'm going, I'm just heading out of Cambridge. I don't know where the hell I am.
God.
Oh my God.
Keep it... Listen to that adrenaline.
He's threatened me with the police. That's twice now.
Paul, you've turned into a woman. Hey, has anybody been following you to...
Yeah, but I can't find him.
Hide in a bush.
It's a private nursing home, but I'm going in there anyway. That was the worst day of my life.
Hey, Paul.
Yeah.
It was great.
Thanks, mate.
See ya.
I mean, I was physically dragged out of that taxi in Cambridge and thrown on the floor. You know, I'm not confrontational by nature, so to have to do that and sort of just take it was a weird thing. I didn't know it was going to go. I was sort of chased out of a shop by a very large sort of Greek Cypriot chap who would have killed me if he'd have caught. He looked very angry. I think he misinterpreted some of the things that I was being asked to say by Chris on the end of the phone, and took it quite personally. And I think that one was actually live on air just before the powers that be took us off from being live. So, I mean, for those reasons, you know, there is a genuine kind of, you know, psychological shadow of fear that hangs over me from it.
Chris's powers of persuasion weren't just reserved for Paul Garner. Writer David Quantick.
My particular memory, my particular favourite thing about Chris's stuff, but rather the prank side, is the use of Peter Bainham as a drone. Because there's something, Peter's great, he's a very smart and funny man, but if you give Peter a job to do, he suddenly becomes this strange sort of gerbil drone person. And the awful things that Chris would make Peter do, go into major public buildings and humiliate himself, no one had done that.
The dynamic, I think, was that of two kids in a schoolyard, one who has an idea to do something awful, but then pushes somebody else to do it. And I was the guy who got pushed into doing those things sometimes. And so we would... And even if they were fictional, you know, he would do things like, oh, somebody sent a tortoise. That's ridiculous.
That is real. Hang on.
What the hell is that? That's just a tortoise.
It's a real tortoise. Hang on. Let me put it down. It's alive. Okay, there's a letter in here, and it says...
That's...
Hang on. It says, Dear Chris, please find enclosed my tortoise. Could you autograph it and send it back by return of post? Yours, Tudor Sykes.
You can't send a tortoise through the post.
You can. Well, he just did, and it's alive. Look at it.
Who sent it?
A guy called Tudor Sykes.
You're a sick man. Are there holes in the box? I mean, you can't send a tortoise through the post.
Look, it's alive.
Yeah.
Hang on, hold it there. Its head's moving. Have you ever wondered what's going on inside the shell?
Well, I remember as a kid, I'm just a bit shook up. I mean, as a kid, I remember that I used to think that inside a tortoise was like a little man driving like a little car, you know, like a chieftain tank or something like that.
It's not like that at all. It's actually sort of a self-contained, sort of a skin-contained unit, which actually goes inside the shell. They can actually come out of the shell. In the world. They can. In fact, you can slip them out of the shell. There's a technique you can slip them out of the shell. I'll show you.
No. Look, Chris!
Hang on. Right. Yeah, okay, look at this.
Bloody hell. Chris, you can't do that.
Now look at that.
Chris, you've killed it.
No, I haven't. Look, it's still alive. It's just sprawled on the paper here.
I'm sorry, I'm not into...
It's just sprawled on the paper here, just like it's like a wrinkly, dry, like an old man's hand.
Can you put it back in?
Do you know what the other thing with these things is? That they come out of their shells like this in the wild, and they go either swimming or foraging up trees for grapes. Yeah. And they've got a thing like a cat, where if they fall out of the sky, they put their feet down and they land properly. It's like if you've ever thrown a cat upside down, it'll spin round in the air and land upside down. Land the right way up.
No.
And it can do it with a tortoise. You try.
You can't. You try.
Well, you try. You're the zoologist. It's a wildlife thing.
What, you can just throw it up in the air
just
and it'll
lob
land?
It in the air. Go on.
What, just like throw it up and it'll land?
Yeah.
Right, I'll chuck it over
Just
there.
lob it, an underarm lob.
Okay, one sec. Yeah, very good.
Peter.
It's landed on its back.
Peter, you shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have done that, should you?
This is really embarrassing.
You shouldn't have done that. Why did you do that? Why did you throw a tortoise across the room?
You told me to, Chris.
I didn't tell you. Obviously, I was joking.
You said. I know you've got a degree in zoology.
Yeah,
and you told me that it would land like a cat.
You better go and pick it up. And while you're going over there, you better work out how you're going to phrase your letter to Tudor Sykes explaining that you've ruined his tortoise.
for some reason I had chosen to cover myself in a bottle of TCP as well, as if it wasn't embarrassing enough being in this car. I don't know why. That shows your naivety of radio. It's not going to really work on radio, the TCP thing. It's purely for my own sort of extra layer of enjoyment from it. But no, I mean, even now going to Cambridge Station, reliving that moment just for a moment is terrifying. And this is the reason why I've never heard any of this stuff back.
Like a dolphin, it's a terrestrial form.
Okay, what does terrestrial form mean?
Can come out on land, and it has a brown color.
Okay.
It's just got an extra single foot on its stomach.
And would it be in the rural areas, like around parks and stuff?
Sure, it creeps along on the left-hand side of things.
Now, is this... What would it attack?
You'll notice it if the animal is...
Hello?
Good afternoon, ma'am. This is Hal Baggs from the San Francisco Research Institute, ma'am, and I have to inform you that one of our terrestrial dolphins has escaped.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Would it be possible it would come into Sonoma County?
Napa Valley sighting confirmed.
Yeah, we have a sighting in the Napa Valley, which
What does it look like?
Do you know what a dolphin looks like?
Uh-huh.
It looks like it's going to attack. It increases in size about 5 or 6 times.
Ooh. How big is it?
Well, it's about 12 feet long normally. And if it's getting angry, it'll blow itself up to about 60 feet long and the size of a house.
Oh, my stars. Oh, my stars.
So you tell your kids, tell your kids to watch out and don't kick a ball at it. They playing with balls?
There's the kids out front playing with balls, yeah.
Yeah, well, don't kick a ball at it. If you kick a ball away from it, it'll get smaller.
Wow.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
I appreciate your calling.
You're very big.
Oh.
All right.
Bye-bye.
The most qualified person to talk about Chris Morris's limits when it came to wind-ups is the man with the mobile phone, Paul Garner. Paul would be sent into shops and would be specifically instructed about what to do and say by Chris on the phone. This extended to airports and, notoriously, a taxi.
I was in a taxi and I had to do basically whatever he told me. And